welcome to the Refined Strength Podcast. I am here with my lovely assistant coach, Jessica Best.
What's going on?
How are you doing?
It's good. It's funny because, you were at my house yesterday.
I was literally right there, yesterday. Wasn't at your desk, but was in that room.
You were in this room.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel like we have a lot to catch up on. We're just in terms of where we're at in the year, it's halfway through the year. You and I were just at Phil Heath 2 weeks ago, exactly. The Phil Heath here in Texas Battle Up show. I had 2 clients there. You had a good friend competing there as well. And then I just had junior nationals. I had 2 clients there from that were competing for their pro cards in both one in bikini and one in figure. And now I'm about to head off to Universe for one of those that was really close, but didn't quite get her card. So we're going to try again at Universe.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool to just come and be there for Phil Heath and see, obviously, I know you as an athlete and you're one of my really good friends, but just to be there to just watch you coach and be in that environment and thrive and be part of that experience, and then watch them, both of them on stage. And yeah, I thought it would be really good to talk about just the different kind of things to look at from a regional perspective and then a national show perspective and then a pro perspective, because some of the things that they look at, had a show in Phil Heath and then those girls go to nationals the next week or, a few weekends later. There's just this new standard, right? Because everybody at nationals, it's okay, well, all of those people have all won.
Yeah, that was definitely sorry, I'm trying to not make my whole life fall apart here with my microphone. That was definitely the thing that I came away with and reminded my athletes of at Junior Nats, which is literally everybody in this room who's competing, or at least 80% of them, because there's always people that show up to national shows that don't belong.
Yes.
That won their class out of 3 people and it was not very competitive, and then they go to nationals because technically they're qualified.
Yeah.
But everyone else, 80-90% of the people in a national show, they came off of an overall win. They came off of a win of a big show, or whether it was this year or last year. And so everyone goes there for a pro card, but most people lose.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing to just remind yourself of. It doesn't mean that you can't win. Doesn't mean that you can't have that big juicy goal and be excited and manifest actually reaching it. But if and when it happens and you don't get the card, neither of my girls, Angie or Issa, got the card at Junior Nats. When that happens, or if that happens, you have to be able to just instantly reframe where you're at and why you're there. If I wasn't here to get the pro card, I was here to improve. I was here to see where I stack up. I was here to get feedback. And sometimes that feedback is I really have to get to work. I am met with the biggest and best in the regional space for bodybuilding. And now the choice that I have is to either keep showing up the same as this right now that did not get the card, or I can improve, whether that's get leaner in a few weeks or get fuller, peak better, or maybe it's taking a full off season and actually growing, because that's what you need to do because you were too small.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it always depends on the athlete and their feedback, because also every national show is going to be different. Going into Universe this upcoming weekend, there's probably going to be a handful of girls who are coming from junior nats, and your athlete who was just almost there. So now you have a whole slew of girls or athletes, not just girls, who have just done a national show. They already have those jitters out, combined with, everybody else who's going to be there. And I made the comment to my girlfriend who, we're not necessarily in this sport to not win. We want to win. We want to do well. But having that expectation of just like going to your first or even second national show and getting a pro card, like that really doesn't happen to 99% of people, even though for some reason we see it like a lot of people do. It's not, that's not how it works. And I said to her, you're going to probably lose more times in this sport than you're going to win. Because she was so used to just doing really, really well. And because she has shape, she has the look. And a lot of girls have great shape and have a great look. And so you might, for your first few shows, do really, really well. And then, like you said, kind of get smacked sideways, or just like the realization, like, I actually have work to do. And that
It's more work than you're used to having.
yeah. And
Like
it can
that's
be,
the thing is like, oh, I love hard work. I love bodybuilding, but like, do you love the extra work that it's going to take to get to the next level? Because the work you've done so far, it's going to take more than that. Not necessarily like bigger, like higher doses, high, like everything is like more in like an extreme way necessarily. Some of it is, but for the most part, it's just a little bit higher quality. It's like 10% better, 1% better even. And doing that enough times and having enough patience with that it actually makes the difference, especially when the differences that they're looking at in terms of like who's placing last at nationals versus first, there's generally not a huge difference between those two people. Like someone in last callouts at one national show might end up winning her next national show just because it's that competitive, and everyone is coming off of a win for the most part. Like they're qualified for a reason because they are a national level competitor.
and it's finally like those fine details as well at a national show that can really just take you from top of first callouts to like last. And that can be a really hard like realization, like a hard, like just fact
Mm-hmm.
that you look the part, but you're just like not there yet. And when you've maybe gone through your bodybuilding career of like career, quote unquote, like you're very new, but that's kind of all you know is just doing really well at regional shows, that can be really hard for a lot of athletes to take. But I mean, I think of it as an opportunity, because you're never going to, like, let's say you get to the pro league, like now you're at the bottom again. Like you have to be willing to accept that responsibility of, now I'm at the pro league, well now I have, even like everybody like is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
And everybody is showing up to that higher, higher, higher standard. And so it's almost like, if you're not willing to take that like next extra like 10% as a positive thing, then you're really going to struggle if you get a pro card, because that's just what you're faced with at the pro level all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah, it is. It's the pressure. You're
Mhm.
going to, when you want something really big and something that seems or is really far away, that takes a certain amount of pressure that you need to apply. And so, why would you assume that once you get there, once you get the pro card, that the pressure is off? It might be off for a little bit, but really it's like it's off for the moment that you get to like celebrate the win. But I heard this recently on a podcast, like a win is almost just like a very temporary relief of the pressure that it took to get there. And it's like a sense of, it can be this sense of joy, but then it's like you wake up the next day and it's back to work again. And I really think not enough people think about that when they think about, especially if they don't get it. Like maybe you got second place at junior nationals, so you didn't get your pro card. Well, what do you do from here? You're that close. You could go on and do another one, or be really realistic and say, like, I don't know if it really makes sense for me to do another one. It's like everyone's a little bit different in terms of like what they're capable of, what their potential is, what was the reasoning they didn't get the pro card at that time, and also just like basic life logistics, like can you afford to do another national show, because it's
Yeah,
fucking expensive.
it's not, it's not cheap. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, so it's risk versus reward. It's how far are you willing to go financially, mentally, physically. How far is your body actually willing to go, because you can't decide how far your body is willing to go. Sometimes we can just keep pushing and keep pushing, and then other times our body just like puts a halt, and like You have to pull out a prep, or you can't keep going without doing more damage than it's worth it, because it's literally just a plastic trophy and a cardboard.
It really is. And I think that that's the other thing is like when you get that pro card, you're not just all of a sudden your life is going to change. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel? Like, do you feel like your life totally changed when you got your pro card?
No, I literally felt, I was so surprised because like it was my fourth show ever, and it was 2017. That was a long time ago.
That was,
And so it was 2017. I was natural at the time. I think I was probably the only natural girl on stage, or one of very few. And it was like I went into that show with such like wide eyes, like just I'm just here to do a show and I'm just here to do my best. I'm going to follow directions and like not think about anything else. And that helped me, I think, just not have stress or anything on the show day, because I was like so like I knew that I was kind of out of my league, but I was still wanting to have fun with it and make it worth the trip and worth the experience,
Mhm.
because of how expensive it is, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to show up to this and like not do my best just because I'm in over my head or I'm out of my league. But yeah, once I got it, I was like, holy shit, that just happened. Like, I know I really need to grow. Like, I almost had that feeling of like not deserving it because of how much I needed to grow to be a competitive figure pro. Because even then, like, while I won that class, it was out of like 14 girls, it was still very that I wasn't at the level of pro figure at that time.
You just
So
won the class.
just because you get a pro card, which means, yes, you're a pro now, you can officially compete in pro shows, doesn't mean that you're actually ready to compete with pros.
Mhm.
And so some people, they can get their pro card and instantly step off stage and go back and like get on stage as a pro. And they can be competitive. Like Daraja, who's not here today, but she's here in spirit. She got her pro card overall bikini North Americans. I was 2019,
And
and
then
then she
didn't
turned
you,
around like 2 weeks later and won her pro debut.
yeah, and qualified for the Olympia.
Yeah, and then won the next pro show. And yeah, went to the Olympia that year, went to the Arnold the next year. Like, it was insane. But that's very rare. Like, she and the people like that are a rarity. Another, like, there's been figure pros that did that. I remember like Latoria, who's won the Olympia a couple times, like she won her pro debut. She went to the Olympia her first time. And I think that's where she won it. Or she got like maybe top three and then she won the next one. I forget. But either way, there's people like that, but you can't expect yourself to be that. And so if you get your pro card, just like you would after a show where you didn't win and you get feedback from the judges, you ask them what you need to do to improve, you should do that as a pro as well. And because of the fact that there's always going to be biases, not only yourself and your own biases, but also your coach. A lot of coaches have some bias as well, and they're going to want to see things that maybe the judges just see differently. So, like Issa, for example, I
You're
was super happy with her peak for junior nationals, and she was like dialed in. When I asked her to get feedback from Becky, her feedback was literally perfect conditioning. Don't get any leaner, especially in the upper body, which like we know we can't really control where we get lean as much. Like, don't get leaner in the upper body, but just come in with fuller glutes. And so we can definitely do that. Even if we do get leaner and that results in a leaner upper body, it means that we can fill out more. And so like we just tested 2 days of low loading, sorry, like not saying low days, high days the last 2 days, and she's woken up like a pound, like the same weight, full, sharp, soup, like everything is popping. So now we know, now we're like 4 days out because she competes Friday at Universe. Just like I have more data to be able to peak her, but I also know like what exactly they're looking for on her. And that's the key, is that they might be looking for something different on her than they are on someone else who has really full glutes, but maybe isn't as lean as they need to be in the upper body or in the core. She luckily has like a really streamlined look and a really great shape. So like her upper body, all she has to do is just like not pump up super hard and she'll be fine in terms of like how her leanness looks on stage.
It's more about you also taking the judges' feedback, but then determining what the judges are actually meaning by
Mm-hmm.
their feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because that I think a lot of times competitors just take exactly what the judges say and into consideration and just be like, that's what I should do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the judges don't like, they don't know you as the athlete or your body.
And they're also not always coaches themselves. Like some of them are, or some of them have coaching experience, but they might not know that like that athlete needs to be just bigger instead of fuller, you know? Could Issa use bigger glutes? Absolutely. But like we don't have time to do that this time, but we do have time to fill her out more. And she definitely, you can see she had more room to fill out. And I know she did, just like based on how I fed her too.
Right. And like the feedback that you got, like don't change anything, like don't get leaner in the upper body, that might, like to the athlete's mind, might be like, okay, well I can't get leaner. But the fact is, like, well, yeah, we can and we should, but then you just need to fill out a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Same with like the feedback of, I remember I got like in Florida, I got the feedback, like you should like gain weight. Like
Yeah.
they said like you're almost too depleted. And so what we actually did is really, really fed me into that show. And I actually dropped weight, but I looked more full just because of the way that we like almost reverse dieted into that. Well, we did. We reverse dieted in that show. So I wasn't just like grinding my ass down into a show. Right. And so it's kind of taking that judge's feedback and determining, okay, like what do they really want? And that can be hard and challenging too at a regional show where we've seen them really like, let's say, a softer, fuller look from their athletes, like that they're the people who are winning. But at like a national show, they're looking for conditioning. Like you
They're
got to
looking
have.
for all of it because they know that all of those athletes are also bringing that. You have a
Mhm.
lot more similar conditioning looks popping up at a national show because most people at a national show, both coach and athlete, know that they have to show up conditioned versus at a regional show, you do have a lot of lower quality conditioning, partially because there's a lot more coaches that just like aren't at the level that they should be to be putting people on stage and putting and being competitive at it. And
There's
same
like
thing with
more
athletes. You have a
variety.
lot of, yeah, you have just more of a range. And so you also have athletes that decide that they're going to do a show even though their coach doesn't want them to do it. Like there's always going to be those people on stage. There's also going to be people who are self-coached, people who just kind of like dieted down as if it's like a transformation contest. And so you have such a big range, people doing their first show, not even knowing what they're doing. You have people that don't even know they need a tan. So at a national level, it's just a very big step up, or it should be at least.
What do you feel like do you have like a big takeaway that you had from junior nats that you're bringing into universe, or maybe not something that you're bringing into like for ESA universe, but just a big takeaway?
Yeah, I have a few. I think one that I learned that weekend, just like by getting to know her and Angie, my figure girl who also did nationals, they both expressed how great it was to just have such a presence from me or like a calm energy. And I honestly like, I never thought about that as being something that someone would call out because, like, I don't know. I'm just me, right? And, but also part of me being that way is like, I'm really focused. So I'm not just like, like,
You're
just,
not
you know,
scrambling. You're just like direct and to the point and like, okay,
yeah.
I'm going to have you do this. Like you're very organized. I did see, I mean, not that I don't think that you are, but like one of the things that I did see, like you just like real time coaching in at Phil Heath, my brain stopped working. Was yeah, like just like organization and your just like ability to communicate with your athletes just very clearly and precise, right? And I think that that's something that you and I have a lot in common. Is it's just like very, it can bring an athlete's mind down and like
Mhm.
into just like, okay, my coach knows what I'm doing or what they're doing, and so then I just need to follow suit and like make sure that like I'm just following directions, and like that's really all you need to do on show day is just like chill, follow directions.
And like people talk about a lot how coaches, like, they're not meant to be your cheerleader or your hype man. That, like, yes, your coach should be excited for you, obviously. Like, your coach should believe in you. But that doesn't need to look a certain way. And it also doesn't need to elicit any certain response from the athlete either. Like, I, as a coach, my job is to do my job, which is peak you properly and get you to win, right? Like, it's to help you do whatever you can in order to win. My job is not to stress you out more or make you feel like you just like make you feel not at ease, like the opposite of at ease.
Stress.
And so, yeah, that was a big takeaway for me because I just like, I feel that that's really important. And and I do see it a lot because I'm backstage at a lot of shows and I see coaches backstage all the time, just like running around and like rushing to get their clients a handful of Skittles because that's going to be the thing that makes them different on stage, not Starburst, but Skittles, or like not a Reese's cup, but
They got to be
Skittles.
the red ones too.
Yeah, it's like there's so many things like that I see that I just don't want to be a part of and I know is not necessary. If I can coach someone from across the country or the world, I can definitely coach someone from back, like just from sitting back. I don't need to be taking up space backstage and being like up a client's ass. No shade to anyone who wants to be backstage or who wants their coach backstage. It's just like I've been able to be successful without that. And I got this weekend that was at Junior Nats. It was a big thing that they were like actually really appreciative of. Is like they were just chilling backstage. They didn't need to do anything extra. And if I needed to see them, I needed to see them. So like we either did pictures or I saw them in person outside of backstage. But another takeaway that I kind of thought of and reflected on my way home, because I had a long time to reflect. It was a 12-hour drive from Chattanooga back to Dallas.
And you did it all at once and on the way home.
I sure did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bad. I fucked up my knee from sitting that long, but it's fine. No, but a big takeaway from that is just like another big takeaway was that just like if you have seeds for a tree or something like that. And I heard this passage in a sermon that I listened to on the way home, and then it kind of like made me bring it back into my own life as a coach and as just a person. Like, you have seeds for a tree, and as you hold those seeds, you are holding trees. So however long it takes you to decide to plant those seeds, pick the right environment, cultivate them, water them, be patient, all of those things. Eventually you are going to have trees, and then those trees are going to grow. So I, as a coach, and I think this is really natural as a coach in general, or even as an athlete, to just always be comparing yourself to others and think like, well, I don't have this. I don't have pros yet. I'm not a good enough coach for this, or, whatever it is that is this like comparison that we put ourselves through. I have pros on my roster. You do too. And I just have to plant them. I just have to cultivate them. I have to like be patient with them. I have to instill patience in them and help guide them in order to reach their highest height and their best. And so a big part of why that meant a lot to me to really think about and just instill in myself is that when Issa came off stage and she got fourth, and we were pretty sure that she got fourth instead of splitting center, which is what we obviously really wanted, she was so happy. She was just like over the moon. She felt like that was my best look ever. And that was my best feeling I've ever had on stage because of not just being moved in and like being up there, but just like how she felt and how she looked and knowing how it's so much better than her last experience, not just her last experience on stage, but leading up to it. She, in her last season, had a really hard season. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Her dog died. She went through a breakup. She went through a lot, and she still got third at her national show, her last season in 23. We were not together at that point. She was coached by someone else. But it's like the fact that she felt so much better and felt like it was such a better prep overall. And that was the first thing out of her mouth as soon as she got off stage. And she was so happy. That made me really just proud of her and proud of me and gave me a lot of just faith in the process and faith in myself and belief in the potential of all of this, like of me as a coach, me as a leader of coaches, as my athletes, like faith in my athletes, and trust that everything we're doing now is for the future version of ourselves that we want to become. We wouldn't want it if it wasn't already ours. And that can sound really woo woo and like just overly manifestation to some people, but everything I have now, I wanted so badly. And it was like so big in my head at some point that I just did everything I could to possibly make it happen. And so that's what I see now with Issa. Like, she's a pro. She's going to become a pro. It's just a matter of time. And as long as I keep reinforcing that belief in both myself and her, reinforcing it with actual action and data and learning and all of those things, then we can't lose. We're going to get it, whether it's this season, this weekend coming up, or next season, because she's happy with how it's gone so far. And she has a lot of trust and belief in both me and herself. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. And I think like we want to win, but it can be hard as coaches when we see an athlete who we know is like, oh yeah, you're going to be a pro, or you are a pro, or you're going to win. You're going to win an overall, or your class, right? Or whatever that is. We already know that. And they don't get that outcome yet. That I know, like you and I talked a little bit about that as just like, as a coach, you're just like, damn, because you also really want that. But the fact that like your athletes are stepping off stage, my athletes, whenever they step off stage, if their first response is like, wow, that was amazing. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so happy. And then like, it's really the experience. Yes, it's winning, it's doing well, it's whatever their ultimate goal is. But like you said, that's there. It's within them. It's within us as their coach to get them there. It's going to happen. But like, I think it's also the athlete's experience. Mm-hmm. And not just like on show day or in that win, but it's like you said, like the prep, the even on show day or the day before, or just in the peak week, and the way that the communication is and how like calming presence that is. And it allows them to just show up as their best self. That can just be that experience. Cause like you said, at the end of the day, okay, it's a piece of paper. It's a plastic trophy. It's cool. Winning is cool. And yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen for Issa. That's going to happen for you as a coach, me as a coach, to have our athletes become pros or overalls or whatever it is that their goal is. But it's also providing the experience for them that like allows them to just continue to love bodybuilding. Because that at the end of the day is what we want. Like, sure, winning, but like making bodybuilding a beautiful, positive experience for people, because it's so much more than that trophy or the piece of paper. It's really just in the like experience of getting there, or of the off season, or of like those wins that they see themselves overcome and start to like believe that they have those seeds, that those seeds are there, and that they can like see the vision. I think them seeing the vision is just like,
that's half the fun, is just seeing the vision and being a part of making it happen. And as soon as someone ties their identity or their happiness or love of themselves or love of bodybuilding even to just a win at all costs, that's when you've lost, because it is about so much more. And even if you lost, like, would you really change much about your lifestyle if you actually love bodybuilding? Probably not. Anyone who actually loves bodybuilding and actually enjoys it and wants to improve in it, no matter what, they're going to do it no matter if they win or lose. They're going to do it. They're going to wake up the next day, take their vitamins, do their cardio, train, eat their food, do all the things. They're not doing it just for the win. The win is like the carrot at the end. The win is like the feedback that we want to make sure we're doing well or not so well. Like, it's just one of those things. It's a dial mover versus like I like how I feel knowing that I'm moving forward, but I also like how I feel just doing what I do and like training and eating to feel good instead of eating to feel like shit or hungover or something like that. Yeah. So the people that don't last in bodybuilding are generally the people that are doing it for a very small or surface level thing, or they get into it because of a certain pressure that came from someone else or something else, that they didn't do enough of their own just like inner work or work in the work of bodybuilding in order to finally like to fully enjoy it and fully embrace it. It's like they're just doing it to because like it sounded like a good idea at the time, versus the people that have been in it for a while and that have been doing it a long time despite life being not ideal or despite it being hard or despite losing. Those people are the ones that are like they're actually enjoying it. And so yes, winning is important, but so is enjoyment. Like we work too fucking hard to not enjoy our lives as bodybuilders.
We really do. Like your whole life is really wrapped up in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like it's how you fuel your body with food and the food choices that you're making and like the timing of your meals.
Mm-hmm.
And like always like, okay, making sure that I'm recovered enough to train. So I need to get to bed at this time and like drink my water. And it's like the relationships that you surround yourself with support you to get you there, including your coach or your loved ones and your family, your friends, like, you know, the bodybuilding community. It's a lot. And like, I don't know. When I started bodybuilding, I didn't think that it would be as impactful as it really truly is. But I think that I've discovered that as I've become just like more just in depth with bodybuilding. And I've like really just like looked at the positives that it brings into my life. Like it's really fun getting pretty and glammed up on stage, but like you can't always live in that body. Like I can't live in that body. Nobody can. I don't no, really can't. Like Ashley Caldwell can.
Exactly. But she's also like, she's a great example of someone who just lives and breathes bodybuilding in a way that works for her. Like, I don't know her personally. I don't know, you know, if maybe she hates her life, but I don't think she does. Like, she does this so much, like, she can't hate what she's doing because the body just like doesn't respond to like not enjoying your life. Anyway, she's been doing this a long time. Like, I don't know what it'd be interesting to know like how she did in like her very first years of competing, if NPC News Online even goes back that far. But like she has been doing this so long, she knows her equations. She knows what she's doing. Her coach knows her body so well, and she just shows up and executes. And she doesn't think about like, should I do this or should I not? I don't feel like it, so I guess maybe not. Like she doesn't think about that stuff. I highly doubt she thinks she even has the decision in her mind to make of whether or not to do the thing that's going to move her forward and like get her fucking 60th win.
Yeah, I don't even think that that's like a question in her mind.
No. And I thought about that when I stepped off stage at Texas when like Jessica won, and like obviously we knew she was going to win the figure show. And I think I'd asked Mark, like, what do you think she like sets her apart as just like a person, as a competitor, like that has brought her here? Because like she started competing when she was 37 and she's 47 now. And she's winning every show she does. And
I'm like, yeah.
Right?
People
like that's fucking cool. And it just shows you that like you can do a lot despite things that are maybe working against you, like age. And I think his answer was something along the lines of like, I just don't even think she thinks about it. She doesn't really like deliberate. But like what I see from athletes who have a lot slower progress with their journey, or athletes who don't do well on stage when they could have done better, like technically they could have made it farther in their prep, those are the people that are constantly deliberating on how hard they should work in their cardio. They're deliberating at the end of their set and they don't do those extra 2 reps. They're deliberating on like, should I take a video of this and send to my coach? Nah, I don't know. Maybe not. Like they're always
does this really matter? It's just like a little something. It's okay.
Exactly. They're taking those extra bites. They're having that extra thing. And it's not like, oh, an extra bite or a lick of something is going to make a huge difference, but it's that's their mindset. It's that they're always trying to get away with something rather than just trying to do it the best they possibly can and believe that they can do better. But if you don't believe that you can do better because you're always just searching for like the easier or the more comfortable way out, like, yeah, no shit. You're not going to look like the person you emulate. You're not going to look like a bikini pro or a figure pro. You're just going to look like you do now, maybe a little bit better. But so that's a quality I see in the athletes that do the best, is that, whoa, it just got super bright.
Yeah, like
Sun came out and I just like became a ghost. The athletes that do the best are the people that just like, they might have shit going on in their life, but they don't let that slow them down. They just show up and they keep doing it, and they don't think about should I or shouldn't I. They just do it anyway. And it's not about like blindly trusting the process. I think that can get, obviously, like people get triggered by that. Like, oh, my coach just said to do it anyway, even though I hate it. It's like, well, why are you even here if you hate it? But no, it's about like knowing why you're doing something and having a purpose behind what you're doing, and knowing that your emotions and your feelings around whether or not you should do something because of how hard it is or uncomfortable it is, like those don't matter as much. They really don't. And the more you give meaning to them, the more you're going to be just susceptible to the potential negative consequences of that.
I think the same goes for people who feel like very high anxiety about doing everything perfectly. So
Yes.
it's like, yeah, it's like the athletes who are always kind of questioning, like, is this enough? Like maybe I can like quote unquote get away with this, or like just smudge this a little bit. It's the same for the athletes who are just like, that's all that they can always think about forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like just being so extreme in terms of like their nutrition and how they're training, and like just like the always thinking and always processing. That's just as bad as like the questioning, like the always questioning, because you can just overthink yourself to just fucking stress,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And then it's exactly like you said, they're not being present, they're not being intentional. When you're overthinking, when you're overanalyzing, like that doesn't allow you to be present and to bring intent to whatever you're doing. So you're actually, by being obsessive and perfect about everything, that's more than likely not going to be your best, because you're living in a place of anxiety,
Yeah.
instead of just a place
Intention.
of intention and presence. And with intention and presence brings joy and like gratitude, and just moving through the process with like no weight on your shoulder other than just doing what you need to do. I think like that was one of the big like shifts that I saw in myself probably like 3 years ago as an athlete. It was just like, oh, I don't have to be this like ball of anxiety. I can actually just do my plan, and like that's okay.
Yeah, see what happens. Yeah, I agree. It's funny. I had an athlete today. She's like doing we have her doing kind of a deficit cleanup phase. And it's been, I told her even like, I'm surprised you've made this much progress. Like in 2 weeks, she sent me her side by sides of like just the last 2-3 weeks of that we've been in this phase. And she's come down like 8 pounds or 9 pounds or something in that time. And like a little of it's inflammation, obviously, some of it's body fat, but it's like, it's what happens when you are fully just like aligned in every way in your life. Because, and I told her the same thing about like tension and stress. Like she talked about the last time she did a prep, which like I ended up taking over. And because she wasn't responding anymore, she like barely lost any weight in that prep, because her life was kind of a mess. Not on paper, maybe like she had a job, she had things in her life that were positive, but she also had a lot of things that weren't, that were probably just being more ignored. And now she's like fully living in her truth. Like she just moved in with a significant other. She just like quit a job, or she recently this year quit a job, and now she's in a much better job. She's just like in a better state in general. She's set really, really good boundaries around like family, friends, everything, like coworkers. Like she's just doing everything that she needs to do, that is actually like, it might look like less, but it's actually giving her more.
Mm-hmm.
So setting boundaries with people and just being able to like pivot a little bit more. And that was one of the things she said. She's like, I used to be so neurotic about being perfect with everything. And now I'm just like pivoting when I need to, and it's working out like way better than I ever thought. Like I understand what you've told me about like just not being so fixated on that perfection.
Yeah, and I think that like that's a big takeaway as we go back to kind of what we were talking about, like, you know, going from like a regional show to a national show and into pro. It's like that is that pro mentality of just executing
Mm-hmm.
and like moving through the process. And in order to get to that level, you have to already be acting like that. Right. And I think that that can be a really like make it or break it for athletes when they are going into maybe like their first national show, like how you did when you just like showed up and you were like, okay, I'm just gonna like do my show. And I know that that's much easier like said than done, but when you can just simplify it and be like, all of the work is already done. There's nothing more that I can possibly do other than do exactly what my coach says.
Mm-hmm.
And just do that. You know, like you're going to see so much more and have such a better experience than just like stressing out because it is your first national show. If you just can take a step back a little bit and just like be present and allow the show to just surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Anytime I've had an athlete that was really stressed and high anxiety during peak week or during their last few weeks of their show, and then they did like another show, because that's part of the reason why I love having someone do 2 shows their first season with me, or their first season in general. It's because there's always going to be things that we can just like get out of the way with that first show
Yeah.
in terms of like the stress and anxiety, and just like not to mention like peaking protocols and stuff like that we can change. But every time I have that with an athlete and they come back and they realize like how much they stressed for no reason, or how just neurotic they were for no reason, that it just blows their mind. It opens them up to realizing like, okay, now this is what I really need to do. I do need to listen to her when she says to breathe, because that actually helps. Crazy, I know. Like I do need to listen to her when she tells me to like not get 15,000 steps,
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
rest. Things like that really do matter. Like, as much as it might seem counterintuitive, maybe something that your coach tells you to do, in most cases, especially if your coach hasn't steered you wrong yet, and if your coach still makes you feel safe, then most cases, what your coach is giving you is actually like the key. It is the ticket to you feeling better, looking better, performing better, whatever it is. And so just like try listening and seeing what happens. Even if it's something as silly as like, I just want you to like take 5 deep breaths. Like, that's all I want you to do right now. Like, even if it's that, just do it and see what happens. You never know.
5 deep breaths cures a lot of things.
Yeah. A walk outside cures a lot. Some water, amazing. Just magical. Well, I think I have to be done in a little bit to get to training, but what, if any, like closing thoughts do you have just about the athlete's mindset going from beginner to regional level to national level?
I think like exactly what we just said. Just if you're a beginner and you've like never stepped on stage, yeah, you're gonna have like some stressors because it's new. But trust in your coach as long, like you said, as long as they help you feel safe and haven't steered you wrong. Be present and enjoy it because like your moment on stage is very very short. We work so hard for what, not even 30 seconds as an amateur, and just don't take that away from yourself. And like you as the athlete are the only one who can take that away from yourself by just stressing out about that 30 seconds. And so just remembering that if your goal is ultimately to be a pro, then you're already there, but you have to go through these steps first in order to get there. And if you live in like that future anxious place, you're not going to be able to be present and be intentional and actually enjoy the process. Like, just know that you're going to get there, but don't allow it to take away from what you're doing like in that moment today, or in on your show day, or in your peak week, or in your off season. Just like trust in where you are right now is where you need to be in order to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the process should be something you learn to enjoy, even if it's hard, like especially because it's hard. And every part of the process, including if you lose and including if you have to like make big changes and big sacrifices or set really big, strong boundaries that, you know, change the just the setup of your life or the people in it, those things are what will allow you to shed what is not necessary on your way to becoming who you want to become. And so don't be afraid of that shedding or of the growth, because both need to happen. Like the shedding and the letting go, that needs to happen in order for you to grow. And in order for you to grow, or like in order for you to get to that level of yourself that you can't see but you really want, then growth is inevitable, and the growth is always going to look different than you think it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Like we think we want growth, but we don't like really put ourselves in the future version of ourselves. We just like think about how it looks or, you know, what it's going to give us. But what I tell a lot of athletes is, if you are having trouble doing the things right now that'll get you there, that I'm telling you to do, or that you know that you need to do, try to put yourself literally in the shoes, like in the mind of the future version of you that has the goal that you want. Like the version of you that woke up like the day after she got her pro card. What is she doing? What do you think she is thinking about? What do you think she's doing when she's getting ready to step on stage for her pro debut? Because if you can think like her, you're going to start acting like her or him. And once you do that, you're like, you get better at that, and you get better at the skill, you practice it, and over time it just becomes who you are. So you become that pro before you actually get the pro card, and that's how you get the pro card. So that's it. So thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, drop us a comment on YouTube or shoot us a DM. Our information is down in the show notes. And I appreciate you guys listening and bearing with me on the break that I took from the podcast, because sometimes it's hard to run a podcast and get enough guests on here.
There's been a lot happening in the life
gosh. Yeah.
of Rachel.
It has been a lot, but that's okay. Sometimes we just need a break, and then we're just like back to it. So thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye.